Today we take a look at the Epstein chart. Epstein chart has some distinctive features. The first is that both capacity aspects are servicing to the stems. Both the epicure and the maverick are visible. This makes his configuration quite messy, and that's a problem. The epicure tends towards slow, meticulous work, pursuing depth. The maverick tends towards rapid output, pursuing sensory stimulation and fame. When capacity aspects are mixed, they tend to restrain the power aspects, which represent discipline, rules, and career position. This causes such people to resist authority, challenge the system, and easily get blocked in their careers due to their sharp tongue. Now in his hour pillar, which represents his home, there is a like-eye aspect sitting there. This means he's surrounded by many people who are all like brothers to him. And the key thing is he and his brother share the same root, located in the Mons branch. The Mons branch represents society, so he and certain people in society are entangled at the root level. This means he served them wholeheartedly. Why do I mention this? Because sometimes if people have multiple roots to choose from, maybe here is one and here is another one. So these people, when they are serving others, they might hesitate. Should I go solo? Should I do my own thing? But Epstein doesn't have that option. Epstein existed as a very harmonious element within this group. He gets along great with his brothers because they share the same root. There is no room for internal conflict. As long as the brotherhood has money, he has money. In reality, this is exactly how it played out. His circle was remarkably united. Let's look at why he did the things he did. First, his capacity aspects are surfacing. When the epicure surfaces, it gives a person eloquence, so Epstein was quite a smooth talker. In the imagery behind these time vectors, the epicure also represents children, juniors, or younger generation. So the capacity aspects can also be read as a bunch of kids in his chart. This means Epstein had a deep structural connection to children. For example, when we judge what kind of teacher someone is, university, high school, or kindergarten, if we see more epicure or maverick in chart, most likely they may not be a university professor. They are someone who deal with young children, someone with a playful, childlike quality. And for someone work in university, the most common situation is they may have like Crohn or Amok in their chart. So that's how we distinguish the occupation. So let's go back to this chart. So as Epstein as a day master is generating, look at this connection. He is generating these capacity aspects on the outside. Here is outside and here is inside. He transfers his own resources to them from an energetical perspective. In a normal person's understanding, I'm good to you, I give you resources, and I don't ask for anything in return. But in energy terms, the purpose of giving you energy is precisely so that you do work. You need to do work for me so that you serve my purpose. Epstein configuration is a special configuration. It is not common. His body, like Maverick Epicure, is day master's body. The cell, the Christ, the cell's aspects are also a day master's body. It means this 4 time vector is his tools to get money normally. It's like you have 2 arms. You should use your arm to grab money back to your home. But in this situation, we find out that actually his 2 arms do energy work together. He used his right arm to attack the left arm. Well, Epstein's body is strong. It's very strong, yet fighting itself, eating its own flesh. When your body working with body, sometimes we always say that is kind of problems. So basically in our framework, we identify the energy work pathway. For Epstein, the useful pathway is not that good. This means when it comes to doing legitimate work, his original chart simply has no legitimate work pathway for him to do. In a good scenario, when the day master generates the epicure, the person is talented. They write books, become a celebrity, produce original ideas. The energy flows towards skills and eloquence. Related to this factor, there are many concepts or imagery. You can relate eloquence to epicure, and you can also relate junior, like minor, to epicure. It's just an abstract conception. So if you have epicure energy, you can use it for eloquence, for talking smoothly, but also you can manifest it in another way. So apparently, Epstein doesn't use this energy to the right way. The epicure also carried the imagery of resource management. So we need to look at what this epicure is actually doing in its topological position. And what we see is sitting directly beneath it is a Christ. This structure, Christ sitting beneath epicure, is known in ancient texts as Christ prays on epicure. This is an extremely classic structure. In 90% of cases, Christ praise on epicure is a bad thing. Only in rare cases, when the epicure dominates like 95% of the chart, when it is overwhelmingly excessive, only then it is okay to have something confronted. So in 90% of cases, the epicure does not want to run onto the Christ. For Epstein, his epicure is sitting directly on the top of this Christ. This represents something not so good. What is the Christ? It belongs to the cell aspects. And we can see that Chao and Wei are in a clash relationship. Plus there is a Chen on the left. So all three earthly branches, Chen, Chao, Wei, are all earth, all yellow. And all this earth is cell aspects. Whether cell and Christ, cell aspect all represent authority, power, and status. And here we have three of them. The Mons branch Chao holds the largest share of energy in entire chart. When they clash, the energy resonance gets amplified. So the power of the people in this chart gets magnified enormously. You can see that these people's influence is massive, especially when it involves SNG. SNG means storage and graves. The compound time vector, when it classified as an SNG, is normally bigger than others. No other type of clash is as powerful as Earth crashing Earth. It is the biggest. So the people connected to Epstein are from various countries, powerful, prominent figures. The Christ originally means owl. And what does an owl doing at night? It hunts. It hunts prey. Prey is always plump because the epicure by definition is a gourmet, a hedonist. The epicure loves food, represents children, so the imagery of epicure is plump, juicy prey. Transfer this metaphor onto the chart below a group of owls. Above what? A prey, children. So where in this chart is the Lolita Island? Anyone with some experiences can spot it right away. It is Chao. The glyph of Chao, the shape of the character itself, looks like a safe. It has compartments inside. Let's look what inside. We can see Here is a compound time vector. Compound means it contains multiple meta-time vector. What it is wrapping up. The lead is cell aspects. As I said, the lead is power. Chou is very special. It contains half a root for water, and water represents the capacity aspects, that is children. So there is a storage, and here are children. The imagery of Chou is a safe that rusted and filthy, because Chou in Chinese also means ugly, grotesque. It is a dirty storage room. Inside there are children. And what else? Epstein's own root is also here, and social elites who share that root with him. They are all inside this storage. So this location, here is the L island. Then move to the next section. Look at this Ren Water. This person was very interested in computation. The maverick primarily governs innovation, and the year pillar represents age 0 to 18. So in his youth, he was very drawn to computation. He had a strong connection to mathematics. This matches the historical record of him being considered someone with great mathematical potential. But if you asked about Epstein's actual ability, it may not be that good. The heavenly stem governed the external interface, the public-facing side. Epstein made the outside world think he loved the computation and the complex system theory. But internally, did he actually have that much energy for this? He has a water storage in Mons Branch, but after this water storage reacts with other elements, it mostly just become wet earth. So in Epstein's early years, like 0 to 18, 18 to 36, he appeared to like computation. As he developed into his mid and later periods, it actually had very little to do with math anymore. What actually played out was the political and commercial maneuvering part of his chart. So this kind of ability is represented by cells. So I mentioned before, the Epicure maverick is capacity aspects. Cell and Christ are cells aspect. So they are all body of a day master, but what they represent are different. But since the heavenly stems are the external interface, he still projected that image. He will say, I invested in the Santa Fe Institute. I love studying these theories. But that point, it wasn't a capability anymore. It had become a talking point. I covered this knowledge in my course. What kind of person can you spot immediately as having underworld connections? People with the Chou storage tend to have connections to the underworld, or at least the gray area activities, but you can't say it is absolute. In energy structure analysis, we look for signals. One signal, we are not sure, but if 2 or 3 more signals all point the same direction, then we can roughly predict what this person is heading. All right. So as I said, signal number 1, the Chou storage. And the signal number 2, we find Christ prey on Epicure. And look at the positional nodes. The Xin Metal Day Master Epstein himself has a Christ in his home, and he also participates in another Christ out in society. These two Christs are only one position apart. When Chou and Wei clash, the two Christs merge their force into one. His personal Christ join forces with society's Christ, and what do they do together? They team up to prey on the younger generation outside. This is the signal number 2. Signal number 3, when we look at all 8 nodes, and determine whether the overall structure is yin restrain yang or yang restrain yin. Wood and fire are yang, metal and water are yin. Earth sits in the middle, but if it is wet Earth, it leans in. Count Epstein chart, every single Havlin stem is in. The entire structure is metal, water, wet earth, restrain the wood and fire. Yin restrains yang. This means darkness defeats light. So Epstein's yin restrains yang structure shows up he is a villain. He may be a great talker, but the impression he gives is deep calculation and cunning. Yet, Shin metal gives him an air of elegance, refinement, polished, well-organized, classic, and tasteful. The only yang, count the 4 earthly branches, only 2 are yang. These are in Epstein's spouse palace, which also represented himself because this position has a dual identity. It represents both his inner self and his spouse because whatever you are inside, that is basically the kind of partner you will resonance. So look at this red. It has a tiny bit of hidden yang, a dim fire, but it is suppressed under a mountain of metal, water, and wet earth. It can't show itself. This tiny bit of fire can't survive long inside him. Otherwise, he couldn't operate all those external schemes because these two types of energy confront each other. We need to take a close look like the small structure between his day branch and our branch. So you will notice that the energy work happening on the social facing side is one thing. But internally, there is a separate little structure doing its own thing. We find that Mao and Wei form a 2-to-1 bonding. The Mao runs out from inside Wei. Because Wei is an SNG storage and grave, Mao comes from here. It is a money aspect story, specifically windfall. So what Epstein is sitting on is a money aspect storage. He's sitting on money aspect storage. And is it a storage or a grave? It is a storage, apparently. So he must be extremely wealthy. You can tell from his chart. The entire right side of the chart is his home, and his home has bonded out a tremendous amount of money. For 2-to-1 bonding, you will have extra emergent energy here. So he already got tons of windfall, and due to the bonding, there are extra emergent windfall here. So there's tremendous energy here. Those money aspects, they are wood. They are green in 5 elements. If we look at what kind of environment in this wood lives in within the chart, we need to look at the time. Chou is the center of this chart. It is special. It sits on month's branch. It represents not only a compound time vector, it also represents time period, roughly December to January, the coldest, most frozen time of year. Here is a huge pile of windfall. For a male day master, windfall also represents woman. It is money, woman, and wood all at once. In freezing cold weather, wood freezes to death. Women in his chart feel very cold when Epstein treats them. You can see the Epstein spells palace contains the only bit of fire in his entire chart, the only warm part of his inner self. And who does this energy go to? That is how his woman managed to survive. From his estate records, we can see that the significant portion of his wealth was left to one of his lovers. Let's look at how his lovers do energy work. His lover live alongside his brothers. His lovers. And his lover directly restrain his brothers. This means he also relies on his woman's network to control his brotherhood. Where do his women come from? I like to say Epstein's romantic luck, what we call peach blossom in Baziologics, should actually be quite good. I can tell from this chart. His women come from the year pillar here, year pillar. And what does the year pillar represent? A level bigger than ordinary society, national and international scale, or very far away palace. The ear branch has a Chen storage, a wood storage. So the windfall represents woman, and women come from this storage. Storage means there are many, many, many windfall women. Regardless of whether its energy is larger or small, its position along here tells you its level is very high. In terms of energy system, this position offer very few energy to the Daymaster. But in imagery system, the position here represents like international, it represents bigger scale. For understanding, you may feel a little bit confused, but actually it is not contradictory. Like looking at a tower from far away, it looks tiny, but it's actually massive. Or the difference between the sun and a desk lamp. The sun is far away, looks about the same size as a lamp, but in reality, it is incomparably larger. This is why we see Baziologics is a multiple perspective study of a holographic universe. You must constantly switch your viewing angle. So on the international level, there are many, many women stored inside this storage. And what do? They run to Epstein's home. Here is society and outside, and here is his home, wanting a palace in his household, either becoming his lover and helping him manage the brotherhood. That's quite interesting. There is another detail that may not show on diagram. Chen and Chou are actually in poor relationship. It means a little bit crack between these two together. We don't usually discuss this, but if you look at this in this way, there is a very interesting point. Chen is the storage of his woman, Chou is the storage of his brothers. When Chen and Chou crack or pull each other, it is like two eggs cracking against each other. His woman actually have issues with his brotherhood circle. They are not happy about this. In some extent, maybe they have a competitive relationship with each other, his brotherhood and his windfall. Look at the outer shell of his woman's container. What is the difference between cell and Christ? The cell represents the social mainstream. It means Epstein's lovers, they may under some mainstream education. So their value is different from the people who born in this network. So they actually have a worldview contradiction. The main working path happening on the left side between the epicure and the cell aspects. That is the Christ. The Christ means having power, but not within mainstream eyes. Think of the people you don't usually notice, the peripheral ones. They don't need to speak mainstream values, but they still get resources. They simply inherited their money. They are old money, aristocrats. But the outside world doesn't really acknowledge. They are pushed to the edges, so they have perverted mental needs. I think mainly is these people. These are the people who go and do something to L Island. And the people from this storage I said is his lover storage, but also cell represents the mainstream figures, scientists or researchers. They don't get involved in this kind of work, but they are still have connection with Epstein. The energy work of this group was large in his early period. There is a cell. This means early Epstein still conformed to the social mainstream. He went to school, became a trader. He was still following the conventional path. You can tell from here too. In the later period, what he mainly did was Christ prey on epical work. In the late period, the other pillar era, Epstein was already very wealthy. He could have stopped. Yeah, you can notice that the women around him all had respectable titles. His lover was a a dentist or artist, he appeared to want to walk away clean, to retire from game. But his foundation was already set. He wants to rely on the network, only his brotherhood and his woman to maintain his whole life. But this thing he did before is already here. He needs to, take responsibility for that. So that's a problem. I said before, his background actually has two types. One type is represented by Theo, and another type is represented by Christ. So it means two backgrounds separate. You can see a latent separation here, and that's a problem. That's why Epstein's file comes out right now. Look at this. When his luck pillar come to here, 2008 to 2017, this period is purely represented by Earth. When the luck pillar brought in more Earth, the Earth elements started fighting each other. The power players started clashing with each other. Epstein is Xin metal. Xin metal doesn't like Earth. As Xin metal, originally refined, elegant metal, he got corroded by this dirty Earth. He could no longer maintain that polished, elegant images. And this is when he fell. The last question is, why did he operate on such an enormous scale? Because his chart has a lot of emergent aspects doing energy work. The Earth clashed out by the Chou and Wei, producing all that power, and the money bounded out by the Mao and the Wei 2-to-1 bonding. These emergent aspects are topologically very close to each other. It should have an emergent cell here. So these two emergent aspects, between them, there is tremendous reaction we can't see from here, but actually the reaction exists. And especially the emergent aspects react to emergent aspects. It is insubstantial. The insubstantial is always bigger than the substantial. Think of air. Press it into something solid. It is just that much. But in its insubstantial form, it is vast. So the network behind this is enormous. The exchange between money aspects and the cell aspects, we have a configuration called wealth spoils cell. Cell aspects should represent values, represent something nurturing and good. Cell aspect is earth, and the windfall is wood. Wood restrains earth. So it means the pursuing of money actually hurt the value, hurt the worldview. So this reaction formed their perverted worldview. All right, I'm Daozi. Leave a comment telling me what you'd like me to cover. This is a new channel, please subscribe, or you can visit 10aspect.com for a free personality test. For more energy structure decoding of notable figures, visit quantfate.com.